Yo, what is up? Welcome back to the channel. I know I haven't uploaded in a super long time, but today I'm going to be reviewing two microphones, the Stellar X2 Vintage and the Shure SM7b, to show you guys a comparison of two different microphones and which one is better for Twitch and YouTube. These are good for comparisons because number one, they're both similar in price point, and number two, they are both cardioid microphones. First, let's talk about price. The Stellar X2 Vintage goes for about $500 Canadian. The Shure SM7b goes for about $540. But with the Shure, you will also need a cloud lifter, which is another $200 Canadian dollars. At the end of the day, it's about $240 difference. So first, let's talk about the look, the feel, the design, and the weight. With the Stellar microphone, we have a shock mount up here. The shock mount helps with vibrations and small movement, so if you randomly hit your desk or if anything else happens, you don't make too much noise through your microphone. Obviously, this bracket comes with the microphone, and then the mic arm is the Rode PSA-1 that I ordered off Amazon. In terms of the Shure SM7b, it's actually part of the internal mechanism, so with Shure, we have the microphone right here. It's actually compartmentalized in this area of the microphone. There's no shock mount for the Shure, but there is internal stabilization already. So with the two microphones, I'll put them side by side here so you can actually see the difference in size. The Shure is a little bit bigger than the Stellar microphone, and I would say the Shure microphone is also about 2 times the weight. With the Stellar microphone, we have a metal grill, and both of these microphones are cardioid, which means how the sound comes into the microphone. So in terms of a cardioid microphone, everything around the back of the microphone is harder to hear, so it takes sound from one direction. And for the Stellar, it's in the front, and then usually at the side and back here, it's a little bit harder to hear. And with the Shure, the sound goes in through the front right here, this direction. This is where it picks up the sound, and then everything else in terms of this direction, and even behind it are a little bit harder to hear. And I'll show you that clip here. This is the sound test of the Shure SM7b so that you can hear the difference in the sound when I test the different directions. Right now I'm talking in front of the microphone. Right now I'm talking at the side, and then I'm talking on the left side. So hopefully you can hear the difference in why both of these are cardioid microphones and what cardioid microphones actually mean. Now, I want to talk about the specifications, and in terms of the specs, these two are actually relatively similar. For the Stellar X2 Vintage, the frequency range goes from 20 Hz to 18,000 Hz. For the Shure SM7b, it goes from 50 to 20,000. So as a YouTuber or Twitch streamer, all of the specifications aren't really going to make sense, and honestly, I don't really think it matters that much, especially if you're using it to stream or produce content. I think at the end of the day, the most important thing is actually two factors that makes me decide which one is better. So let me first talk about my audio interface. My audio interface is a Line 6 UX2. In the majority of audio interfaces, they have something called phantom power. And what this means is inside of your microphone, because it's just connected to an XLR cable, it actually needs power to run. So a lot of audio interfaces actually have phantom power that is just a little button that you click or unclick to turn it on and off. And in terms of microphones, the Stellar X2 Vintage actually requires phantom power to operate. So what this means is you actually can't put anything before the microphone and the audio interface. And I'm going to tell you why that's important in one sec. So why is phantom power important? The Shure SM7b actually does not require phantom power to work. So you can put a cloud lifter in between the mic and the audio interface. What a cloud lifter does, it actually increases the gain of the microphone by 25 decibels without adding extra noise. Because at the end of the day, traditionally, if you want to increase the volume of your microphone, you would just turn up the gain. But when you turn up the gain, it actually increases the overall levels of everything together. So that includes your background noise, vibrations, and personally, I have my PC on my desk. So that means I'm going to be getting vibrations from my PC in my microphone, and you're going to be hearing some of that in the background. So how does phantom power affect these two different mics? Well, like I said, for the Shure SM7b, it actually does not require phantom power, but a cloud lifter does. So you can gain 25 decibels of free sound without having to increase the gain. And for the Stellar, because it requires phantom power, you actually can't put the cloud lifter between that and the audio interface. What that means is it has to go directly into the audio interface. As a streamer and a YouTuber, at the end of the day, I don't think you're gonna care too much about the actual specs of the microphone because you're just gonna be mainly talking into it. However, obviously if you are playing instruments, if you are using it to sing, then all of the different specifications are gonna matter to you. But we're gonna skip that boring part and we're gonna move on to which one is actually better for YouTube or Twitch. So in conclusion, these two microphones are very similar. The Stellar X2 Vintage is about 500 Canadian dollars, the Shure SM7b and the Cloud Lifter is about $240 more. And sensitivity wise, the Stellar X2 Vintage is at -31, and for the Shure SM7b with the Cloud Lifter is at -34. So in terms of audio levels, they're very similar. However, I would give the Shure a little bit better in terms of audio cancellation in the other directions. So although the Stellar X2 Vintage is also a cardioid microphone with a similar noise cancellation, I would say the Shure SM7b is a little bit better, but obviously the difference is $240. So at the end of the day, ultimately it's your decision.